Hello and welcome. My name is Jeffrey Kennedy and welcome back to another episode of Elliott Wave Junctures. If you recall, yesterday we talked a little bit about Elliott wave structure, and what I mean by that is the modality. There's two types of wave structures or wave forms, one being the motive wave and one being the corrective wave. Now again, with respect to motive waves, we have two types of motive waves. We have impulse waves and we have ending diagonals. Within the corrective wave family, we have three types. We have zigzags, flats, and corrections. Yesterday, we specifically spent time looking at flat corrections and also the expanded flat correction, which is a variation of the flat. Today, we're going to look at zigzags. Now, a zigzag is a three-wave pattern, and it's identified as waves A, B, and C, the substructure of which is a 5-3-5. What that means is that wave A subdivides into 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave B subdivides into 3 waves, waves A, B, and C, and then we have another 5-wave move in wave C. This is a classic or textbook flat example. Zigzag example. Okay, now let's look at a few examples of zigzags in real time in real markets. Okay, now here's again the textbook example of a zigzag. It's a 5-3-5 pattern. Now what you'll see here is this is the US Canadian dollar. This is the FX here. And what I'm looking at is, again, the classic example or classic textbook example of a zigzag. Here's waves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C for B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what we find whenever we're working with a zigzag is that the most common relationship between wave C and wave A is equality. I find personally that the second most common relationship is about a 1.382 multiple. And also too, this is a key characteristic of counter-trend price action. Zigzags, flats, essentially all types of counter-trend price action, which is why it's an integral part of the Kennedy channeling technique. But what you'll find is that counter-trend price action and also too zigzags tend to be contained by parallel lines, just as it is in this instance right here. Notice this is the upper boundary line of what I call a corrective price channel. And let me make that line just a little more thick so you can differentiate it. There we go. There. Here we get, again, counter-trend price action tends to be contained by parallel lines. Now let's look at another example of a zigzag. Now here's a zigzag, and this is in the euro. This is the weekly chart level, and what you'll see are two things that I think are interesting. Number one, of course, we have our corrective price channel that essentially defines the move. Notice we did probe above it, but we spent no real time above that upper trend line, but also too right here at 1.198, that's where wave C equal to the distance traveled in wave A, and I apologize for the misspelling in wave A there, right there. But with respect to this move here, what you'll see again is that tendency toward equality, the tendency to go to equality or about a 1.382 multiple. That's what I like to see. Now, what's different or what's unique about this structure here in the euro is that wave B took the shape of a contracting triangle. As you know, with respect to triangles, that's the third type of corrective wave pattern, and triangles can occur by themselves in the wave 4, wave B, or wave X wave positions. Here's a good example of the triangle in the wave B position. Now the final example we'll look at this evening is the US yen, or the yen, dollar yen, and again what we have here, waves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then waves A, B, and C for B, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for C. Now in this instance here, wave C was actually shorter than the equality measurement. Sometimes you'll actually see wave C roughly equal about a 618, about a 0.618 multiple of wave A. Now also too, you'll see in this instance, again, the corrective price channel, the parallel lines, and you'll also see how wave C encountered resistance around the center line of that corrective price channel. Very common occurrence. But the one thing I would like to point out in this example, which was not evident in the other examples, is that one thing I do like to see with respect to a zigzag is that wave C illustrates or demonstrates a much more shallow slope or speed than what you experienced in wave A. For example, here is essentially the speed or the slope of wave A. Notice how sharp it is. Now let's take a look at the same move here in wave C. Notice how you have a decrease in speed or slope in wave C. I like to see that. In fact, it happens quite often. Again, it did not happen in the prior examples, but it's one thing I like to look for, and it's usually a good indication of being able to identify the termination point of the wave C structure. So again, with respect to corrective wave patterns, there's three types: flats, zigzags, and triangles. Yesterday we examined flats. Today we examine the zigzag. And it's a very simple pattern. It's an ABC pattern. It's a 5-3-5 pattern. And as always, it tends to be contained by parallel lines. The most common relationships you'll find, again, equality, 1.382, sometimes 0.618. That about does it for today.